Hello, everyone. Welcome to CripChat, your weekly podcast on everything disability. Today, I will be facilitating, as well as my co-host, Jonathan Shar. Jonathan, how you doing?
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I hope all is well with you and to our viewers out there. We'll be talking about the social model versus the medical model of disability and what that's all about.
Well, I guess the medical model construct disability as something which needs to be fixed or cured by medical intervention. The social model is how society can adapt to our disability.
Yes, no, exactly, John. That's yeah. Look, the medical model will tell you, you're sick, yeah, but it's really you're sick. We need to get you fixed. There's got to be, a way to make you not disabled. But with the social model is that accepted. You got that disability. So how can we work our way around that? How can we make society more accessible for you? So rather than blaming us for our disability, you work with us on our disability. Is that right? Do you agree, John?
Yes.
So that's what it's all about. And look, there's been a shift, I guess, from the medical model to the social model. But look, sadly, we're still stuck in the medical model. There are some communities, cultural groups that are fixated on the medical model. And because you got a disability, you need to, I guess, be sheltered. Stay away from society. You're a bad omen. You're a curse. And things like that. So we gotta change people's mindset, people's attitudes. Changing it from the medical model, sorry, to a more accepting. But how can we, as people, just really fit into society? How can society be more accessible for us? For the viewers out there, yeah, tell us your thoughts. Social model as opposed to the medical model of disability. We do have, myself and Jonathan, we have that rich lived experiences. We've been through so many, organizations. We've done a lot of advocacy work. We've pretty much lived with disability most of our lives. So, yeah, look, in saying that, Jonathan, tell us what are your thoughts like? How do you view your disability as a problem with that needs to be? Yeah, okay. So yeah, tell us your thoughts. How do you live Saturday?
What is disability? Because it raises challenges, but it's not the problem for society. It actually can enhance society. A lot of innovation like audio books and Google maps or inspired partially by disability.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So we are looking at our first segment of the show. So introducing the medical model of disability. So yeah, look, when I was young, I guess living with a disability, and it made a challenge when I was in school, and also when I was in the community, because I had that belief that because I had a disability that I couldn't do much, in society. We were, often seen as, the special ones, and we needed to get cured. So we had to go to all these medical appointments, doctors, whatnot, to find, a suitable cure for us. Or how to prevent our disabilities from progressing. And it has been a challenge most throughout, my teenage years as well. And it's things like that. And so, look, we have to learn the hard way to, be able to fit into society. But there are still challenges along the way. So we do what we can to, advocate for our rights as people with disabilities. But it's still, a work in progress, and we still need to, advocate, especially for those that can't advocate for themselves that don't really have a voice. Yeah, thoughts on that, John?
And now we get into the history of the medical social system.
Back then, we had what we called institutions, isn't that right? Where people with disability were kept in institutions because we were seen as, not fit in society, not being able to join in society because we were marginalized. We were seen as different, and we were seen as, people who couldn't really do much because we had these disabilities. We were not valued as human beings, which is sad. It's sad for me to say this, but that's how it was, back then. But look, times have changed. We started to, become more inclusive. We started to adapt to ways to include everyone with disability. And look, this should have been done ages ago, but we're still working towards that, inclusion and accessibility for everyone. It was tough times back then. It was tough times. You want anything to that, Jonathan?
Institutions or once used as a way to segregate us, to make us feel different, but we for those who can't speak for themselves.
Yeah, it's something we need to, I guess, fight and also be the voice of those who, I guess, can't use their voice. It's all about coming together as peers.
Yes.
That's where peer support comes into play. But also, in saying that, we are starting to now get into the social model of disability. And so that tells us that we are not the problem. Society is the problem, and society needs to, I guess, adapt or make changes to make it be more accessible for people with disability. Things like voice recognition or even like the text to speech.
even like the curve effect with the cigars previously.
Yes, yes, even using assistive technology for people, with who require assistive technology. We're starting to get into, ways in which I guess people with disability can become more inclusive in society, and that's what the social model of disability is. And so we don't get, those reactions. We work full time jobs. Oh, really? Oh, wow. It should be, just normal for me to go to work every day without being criticized.
So we can go out in the community and have to access and include.
Exactly. That's what it's all about.
So turning to a example, and I want to go more than just the NDIS because that's just one part of how the social model influences inclusive policy and practice.
Look, ideally, the NDIS should be able to help us become independent with our lives and with our decision making. Look, there's been a bit of roadblocks along the way. NDIS is a scheme that should allow people with disability to, I guess, get support from the government to be able to live the lives that they want through their support. But people, get in the way, and look, they're often, fraudulent activities or cases of vulnerability and things like that. Often, get us questioning, what steps are being taken, by the government to ensure fairness and as well as safety
Yes,
for, people with disability, especially those that don't have a voice. Those who are not familiar with the legislation. Yeah, do you want to add anything to that, John?
but it's not just the NDIS or the resolve policy need to be included.
That's easy, huh?
So here's the juicy part. What what is the role of functional assessment within the NDIS?
Functional assessments are designed to, I guess, come and assess your capacity to perform daily activities. Based on that is the amount of funding that you get from the NDIS. Ideally, I don't think functional assessments are the way to go. What are your thoughts on that, John?
Right now, a lot of people are conflating functional assessment with independent assessment. but she just reached out with how can someone is spending an hour to with eyes observe what we are like to in our daily lives, and how can they be truly objective?
Look, I haven't had really much experience with our functional assessments, but based on what I've heard, it does I guess change the way we get our funding. It'll be good to just see how it goes. Watch I guess watch his face. I've never actually had a functional assessment myself, but the stories I hear is that it sort of has a negative impact on the way we receive our funding. Look, I could be wrong. For the viewers out there, let us know what your thoughts are in terms of functional assessments. So, perspectives on whether functional assessments primarily focus on individual impairments, so medical model, or consider broader environmental and social factors, so social model. Look, I think for the functional assessment, it really focuses on an individual's capacity. I'd say it kind of brings it back to, oh, look, there's only so much you can do, limited with, the disability that you have. Which kind of brings it back to, the medical model disability, blaming our disability for, the limitations that we have. The NDIS was meant to focus on the social model and work with us to help us be more independent, with our lives, through, government funding. That's my thoughts of it anyway. What are your thoughts, John?
My thought is, look, we need to consider both elements and also what comes into question is, are these assessments aimed at improving our quality of life, or simply to cut down on expenses?
Sorry about that, John. I'll just say it's a very good point. I agree, a very good point indeed. So just moving on to the next question. So the overview of the Australian disability strategy, its potential to shape disability policy and practice. So the NDIS review came into play, and it's good that they're getting feedback from all these organisations, and they're reviewing how they can make changes to the NDIS. So some positive signs there, and hopefully, look, we can only improve.
The Australian disability strategy is much broader than just the NDIS. It really focuses on building up other areas of society to support all
No, thank you for that, John. It does branch out more than just ADIS. We are a long way behind in terms of inclusion and accessibility for everyone. And so we need to, look and consider people to really hear what they have to say in terms of, accessibility. And making, have more disability representation in like councils, planning, get them more involved with councils, I guess, disability inclusion action plan. We need to, I guess, make people with disabilities voices be heard. Because these decisions are made for us. People say nothing about us without us. And that is what it's all about. All the decisions that are made about people with disability are for people with disability. So you would have to get them involved. It just makes sense that way. Wouldn't you agree, John?
It's a genuine concern. Every country should have access and inclusion commission. It needs to come from the grassroots. We've covered medical services. So how can we integrate the two to provide with a comprehensive support and inclusion?
We should focus less on the medical model and more on the social model. The medical model, of course, we all get diagnosed, with our disability. But I think that's where it stops. That's where it needs to stop. Once they identify what disability we have, we need to ask in what way can we, I guess, work around your disability. So work with you as opposed as for you to make it, to make you more included. To avoid, barriers placed in front of us that make us feel we are disabled. Which shouldn't be the case. We shouldn't be made to feel like we're disabled. But rather, how can we adapt to, the environment to make us feel like we belong? That's where we need to, head towards. That's what I guess society, even with our country, they should look at making it more accessible for everyone, making it more inclusive for everyone. So things like having noise reductions in events for people that are on the spectrum, having ramps or, making it accessible, to go into buildings. I know why most buildings have stairs that are completely unnecessary. I understand if you're 5 stories tall, fair enough. But for ones that are on ground level, for them to have stairs, what for? Just have a ramp. It's that simple. Things like that. We need to look at ways to incorporate everyone with a disability. Anything when I jump.
So moving on to the challenges and opportunities in implementing a holistic approach to disability policy at a the national level.
I guess the challenges is that not many disability representation is out there when implementing policies. Sure enough, we get feedback from people on the ground. People that make up these policies are often how was your favorite? People that are able-bodied, people that don't have that experience, of living disability. And so often, when that comes into play, there are a few loopholes or there's gaps, in our policies. Challenges, that's ideally the challenge that we face. But opportunities is, like I mentioned before, getting more disability representation happening. I guess get us involved, in the decision making process. Also get us involved in, policy making. See how that works. But also, teams when they come together and share their knowledge and experience with each other. I guess that's very rich.
I think just to pick up what you said, there's a difference between politics and policy.
Politics and policies, they have difference. Yeah, there's difference, I guess. But it all comes out to the policies that are being made. Politics is another headache we have to go through. In terms of policies, yeah. It's good. It's important to understand, the policies that we make. Yeah, we need to take into consideration those who have the lived experience and who are living under the policies.
Yeah, final thought.
Look, final thoughts were slowly going on to the social model of disability, so we're slowly adjusting to the social model. Whether we're still stuck on the medical model of disability, we need to continue educating as we do all the time. But also, look, make them more aware in the community that people with disability are just like everyone else. We need to be included. We need to be involved in daily life, pretty much, and not just keep them hidden or think the way that you think, or I guess able-bodied people towards people with disability. So change their attitudes and change the way we, I guess, perceive people with disability. It's still a long way to go, and I'm sorry everyone had to hear that, but there is a lot of work that needs to be done. Anyway, what are thoughts, Jonathan?
My final thought is if we're not at the table and in the room where decisions are being made. How can we have a truly inclusive society?
Yeah, nah, very good point. Indeed, Jonathan, indeed. On that note, we've, I guess, tackled the issue of social order as opposed to the medical order of people with disability. We should look at the social moral of disability within our community. You've been watching CripChat, your weekly podcast on everything disability. Thank you for joining us. Tune in next week as we talk about more things disability. Goodbye for now.